And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Liquidity View Bootcamp. It will be a fully packed webinar to teach you and show you the ins and outs of our great Liquidity View dashboard. A dashboard designed the best setups for swing trading, options trading, and investing. And how this works and how we use the dashboard and what the very many features of the dashboard are, that's going to be today's topic. I estimate that this bootcamp will last approximately 2 hours, give or take. Because it's a bit longer, so because of all the features that I want to go through, we will take a 10-minute break around the halfway mark. Okay, so please, be prepared for this. I know it's a long bootcamp, but no problem. Should you need to drop off earlier, of course, this bootcamp will be recorded and the recording will be sent to you shortly after it's rendered. All right, so with this, let's get into it. What is this Liquidity View Bootcamp and this dashboard all about? Well, first off, it's a tool that we developed at tradingindicators.com. And of course, you probably know us by now. My name is Daniel Sinek. I'm on the left-hand side here. And together with Homa, about 10 years ago, we have created tradingindicators.com, your number one online store for all your trading needs. We specialize in developing innovative trading indicators and trading tools. And one such tool is this Liquidity View dashboard, which we use internally every single day and week to find our trade of the day, our trade of the week, and many other interesting setups. All right, now it is a dashboard which is mainly based on what's called technical analysis, which is basically a mathematical analysis of your price chart. We believe that fundamental information is almost immediately priced in. And by analyzing your price chart from a technical point of view, you will indirectly also take into account these fundamental information. We are trading indicators. We also believe that trading should be simple, and trading is indeed simple, but you need to use the right tools. And this tool, this Liquidity View dashboard tool, is a tool which can make your trading life much easier because, as you will see, it will do most of the heavy lifting for you. All right, one last thing before we get into it. This bootcamp is for you guys. This is a live bootcamp. So if you have any questions, please put them into the Q&A box. Nicholas will look out for these questions and potentially answer them directly or bring them to my attention. There will be 2 dedicated points in time during this webinar where we're going to address all your questions. So please stay tuned for that. All right. And of course, one last reminder, when you trade, keep in mind that trading does contain substantial risk and therefore is not suited for every investor. If you trade, make sure to only use risk capital, which is money that you actually can afford to lose. When it comes to backtest performance or hypothetical performance, keep in mind that this is not necessarily indicative of future performance, and any trade ideas and strategies and setups discussed in this webinar should not be construed as trade advice. These are for educational purposes only. All right, so with this out of the way, let's get into it. Now, before we look at the dashboard itself, I'd like to share one thing with you because there was one fundamental principle, one fundamental observation which has driven the development of our Liquidity View dashboard. And this is the following. We have observed a couple of years back that every single chart, no matter what it is, it could be a 1-minute chart, a 30-minute chart, a daily chart, it could be a tick chart, a volume chart, a Renko chart, whatever it is, every single chart has what we call landmarks. These are key levels on that chart to which price is reacting in a certain way. And if you can estimate where these levels are, we in turn can estimate how price will react to them and find interesting setups in the process. Sounds cryptic, sounds very high level, but we're going to zoom in on this as we proceed through this webinar. Now, without knowing where these landmarks are, and just by looking at the chart perhaps with the naked eye, charts can be very unpredictable. As you can, for example, see here, an uptrend is, shortly reversing into a downtrend and back up again. There seems to be no discernible pattern really on that chart many times, or on any chart many times, if you don't know where these key levels are. But If you have a way to find these key levels, then you can make much more sense of the price chart. Yeah. For example, one prediction that one could make is that, hey, these key levels, they attract price in the future. So for example, here on this example, this historical high, which forms a key level, is later on in the future revisited by price. Or this series of swing lows, which also constitutes a key level, is later on, you can see it here, revisited by price. So these levels seem to have magnetic properties. But this is not all. Oftentimes, these levels, they also act as support and resistance levels. A principle or a concept which I'm sure you've all heard before. Yeah? So there are support levels, there are resistance levels. What does this mean from a fundamental point of view? Well, let's think about it. A support level typically is formed by a series of these swing lows. But what is actually going on behind the scenes? Well, at these levels, for whatever reason, big money buy orders are stepping in, preventing price from going any further below these levels. That's where the name support comes from, yeah, because these act as a floor. And in turn, price will go to the opposite direction, will bounce off these levels to higher levels. Or vice versa. Yeah, for these swing highs here, these typically constitute resistance levels. And behind the scenes, big money sell orders are stepping in, preventing price from going any further up, and instead price will turn down as a result. Now, what's interesting and what we need to realize is that, hey, we as retail traders, we are not responsible for these levels. We don't have the buying power to do this. These levels are formed by the culprits, the big players in the markets, the institutions, the big money traders. Those have the buying power to actually form these levels to make price move that way. But while the big players call the shots, we as retail traders, we can follow the patterns. We can take advantage of our knowledge of these levels and estimate how price will react to them and then trade accordingly. Since volume tends to be quite high at these levels, there tends to be a lot of liquidity. Oftentimes, these support and resistance levels are also known as, or also called, liquidity zones. Now, if we can spot these zones, these key levels, as mentioned before, we can find promising trade setups. Now, you may wonder, hey, why am I telling you all this? Well, I'm telling you this because this was the motivation, the initial motivation behind developing our Liquidity View dashboard. Because the very first scans that we've incorporated into this dashboard are scans which will find us exactly these levels, which will find us, hey, if price is currently at a certain level, for example. That was the key motivation behind developing this dashboard. And this is why I'm telling you this. Now, when it comes to the dashboard itself, it is basically divided into two components, which you can see here. On the left-hand side, we have the scanning component, which, for example, allows you to scan through thousands of symbols to find out, for example, whether price is currently, let's say, at a support level, or whether price is currently, let's say, at a resistance level, or perhaps whether price is in the middle, in between support and resistance. So you can run all these scans to find out symbols which fulfill certain criteria. All right, so that's one thing. And the second thing the dashboard does, and which is just as important, it provides you with a very powerful charting engine, which not only shows you, the price chart, but it also shows you our three flagship indicators. Liquidity IQ, which is the indicator designed to find these levels on the chart. MA Rush, which is a macro trend indicator showing you where does the overarching trend pointing to. Is it bullish or bearish? And Trend Radar here below the price chart, which shows you, from a more shorter term perspective, what are my trends doing? Are they whether pointing up or down? Do we have healthy pullbacks, for example, and so forth? Wow, this was a high level overview, but we're going to zoom into all these indicators as we demo you the dashboard. So please stay tuned for that. Now, Liquidity View, it has these two key components, the scanner and the charting engine. But what does it really offer you guys as traders, as a value add? Well, first off, it will allow you, we're going to go through many examples today, it will allow you to find powerful setups for swing trading, options trading, and investing. So keep this in mind, because this is the time horizon for which this dashboard has been designed. Now, it's a bit more longer term. It's not for day trading. It's for swing trading and beyond. The dashboard, in its current state, is scanning through roughly 5,000 symbols. Soon, the next couple of weeks or next weeks to come, we will increase these symbols to around 8,000. This will come soon. The dashboard also allows you, once you know, hey, this is a setup which is of interest, it allows you to understand how much risk am I taking and what is my potential reward. And this is done through many different features in the dashboard, which we're going to go through today. And lastly, it's a tool which is designed to make your trading life easier. It's designed to be convenient to use, hopefully easy to use, and it's designed to be as fast as it can be. And, because if things are fast and efficient and convenient, well, they're more pleasant to use. And we as traders, we don't want to be bothered by waiting around or, figuring things out. Things should be right away and effective, because we as traders, we want to focus on what really matters, which is making that final decision of whether we should take the trade or perhaps stay on the sidelines. This is what matters. We don't want to fiddle around with, waiting around and doing lots of manual analysis. This stuff can be done by tools much better. All right. Now, before we get to the dashboard, a couple of key features just to sum up. Well, first off, its main purpose, at least originally, is to find these liquidity zones, which I mentioned in the beginning, which are key support and resistance levels on your price chart. For this, it is equipped with a very powerful and very fast scanner, which allows you to scan for these setups and filter for these setups, among many, many other things. And this scanner is lightning fast. It will update immediately with no waiting around. And we have built in a whole bunch of what we call quality of life features, which make it easier for you to use the dashboard and make get the most value out of it. For example, you can customize almost anything on the dashboard: the language, the columns on your chart, the look and feel from a bright mode to a dark mode, for example. You can get alerts to be alerted. You can create watch lists, different types of watch lists. You can export information from your dashboard. You can import information into the dashboard. All this to make the dashboard, or to allow you to customize this dashboard to your trading needs. All right. Now, here are some of the features. And what we're going to do in this bootcamp, we're going to go through these features one by one in an attempt to explain them to you as detailed as possible. All right. So please be comfortably seated and let's go through it. And just as a quick heads up, we're going to take a small break once we are done with the scanning feature. So in about, I'd say, 40 minutes from now. And you may say, hey, this is only 2 items. Well, the reason is this scanning feature, which perhaps is the core component of the dashboard, will take a bit of time to explain, because I want to go through every single column of that scanner to share with you what does this column express and how can you take advantage of it. So this will take a bit of time. But there will be a break. And of course, this bootcamp is being recorded. So, should you have to drop off because it's taking too long, no problem. You can always watch and rewatch the recording afterwards. Okay, so the first feature of our dashboard is charting and the indicators that come with the charting component. Now, we are using Trading View charting for the dashboard. We're going to get to the dashboard in a second. Now, this is possible to us because we own a developer license given to us, granted to us by TradingView, to reuse their charting in our own solutions. Now, but you have to be careful when I tell this to you, because it does not mean that you can simply use these indicators on the regular TradingView site. It doesn't work that way. These indicators are only available on the dashboard side, unless, of course, you have purchased these standalone versions of these indicators. That's a different story. But if you only have the dashboard subscriptions, these indicators, Liquidity IQ, MA Rush, and Trend Radar, or 3 flagship indicators for the dashboard, these are only available within the dashboard. Okay? And the second thing you need to understand is that, let's say you have a data subscription for TradingView. Many of us do have it for example, day trading. This is not applicable for our Liquidity View dashboard. These are 2 separate things. All right. Now, what are these 3 flagship indicators? Well, these are Liquidity IQ, MA Rush, and Trend Radar. So let's check them out on the dashboard itself. So for this, I'm going to go over to our dashboard. There we go. I'm going to drag this in here. And for now, we are going to focus on this component here on the right-hand side, the charting component of the dashboard. The scanner will be next. So charting. Now, this looks like a TradingView chart. And it is. It has the exact same drawing tools which come with TradingView, and it has the exact same built-in indicators that come with TradingView. And there are hundreds of built-in indicators which you can use at your disposal. Now, no problem. Okay, but we have also equipped the list of indicators with 3 custom indicators which we provide. So the first one is Liquidity IQ. Now this one here. The second one is, you can just type it in here, is MA Rush. And the third one is Trend Radar. This one here. These are 3 custom indicators which are not available, built in at least by TradingView. We have added these ones to the dashboard. And there was a specific reason for this, because these indicators are based on our trading approach, and they allow you very easily to find out whether a price is perhaps near a support level, a resistance level, perhaps in between, whether we are currently trending up or trending down, or perhaps whether we are currently experiencing what we may call a healthy pullback within a long-term trend. Yeah, these indicators are designed to answer these questions for you. All right, so let me walk you through these indicators right now. So I'm going to actually start with the SPY, just as an example. And by the way, guys, if you add any annotations, like manual drawings, like this trend channel here, to your chart, these will be saved to your account. Yeah, so you can write text on your chart. You can annotate things. Yeah, put smiley faces on it or whatever you want. Draw Fibonacci retracement from these many different drawing tools here. These will be saved on the chart for you. Should you ever be in a situation where you just want to reset everything to the status quo, to the beginning, to the default settings, well, in this case, simply press this reset button, and it will reset your price chart to its basic settings. Actually, let me do this right now. So I'm going to reset here. Once you do this, yeah, the 3 indicators are only on the chart. All the drawing tools have been deleted for this particular chart. Okay, but not only this, also the default settings for the indicators will be applied. Okay, so let's focus on one indicator at a time, starting with Liquidity IQ. So I'm going to disable all the other ones. You can do this with this little, this little icon here, which looks like an eye. You can disable or hide or show the indicators. I'm going to do this here as well. So now we have a very clean chart. Okay, so the first indicator applied is our Liquidity IQ indicator. Let me make this chart just a little bit bigger. You can do this by scrolling on this little middle panel here to make it bigger or smaller. And in fact, this is one of the quality of life features where you can, for example, extend all the way. Let me just do, my mouse is a little bit finicky. You can expand all the way, for example, to a full screen mode of the chart, which you can then click here to bring it back to half-half, or you can have a full screen view as well of the scanner. This is both possible. And if you want to go back to the original settings, simply click on this little expansion box here on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. So I'm going to click on it, and let me make this scanner just a little bit bigger, or the chart just a little bit bigger. Okay, so what we see here is our Liquidity View indicator applied to the chart. And one main thing this indicator does is to show you where are nearby resistance levels, these greenish lines, or support levels. And for your convenience, these levels are also labeled. You can see it here. This is a resistance zone. And by the way, guys, think about these levels as zones. These are never just lines in the sand, meaning they are never at an exact price. There's a zone around these levels. And that would be too nice. Life would be too good if we knew exactly to the dot, to the cent, where price would go to before it drops off. That's not how trading works. These are always zones. You can see it here. This is a resistance zone. And even though price went up a little bit, it still acted as resistance. And dropped off again. But it didn't go exactly to this green line. It went a little bit higher and then dropped off. Similar here with the support zone. The recent breakdown on, when was it? On Tuesday, I guess. How we went down into the support level, maybe went a little bit lower indeed, but then we dropped off, or then we bounced off the support level towards the middle in between support and resistance. And knowing where these levels are can make a huge difference in your trading. Because oftentimes, not always, there are, of course, situations where these levels are no longer holding up. We're going to discuss those as well. But oftentimes, these levels are preventing price from moving further up in case of resistance or moving further down in case of support. This is where the name comes from, support and resistance. And knowing where these levels are is so crucial. All right, so we're going to revisit this. Okay, what else can I say? Well, at some point, let's look at this example here. Levels are broken. You can see it here. Price went above this resistance level. Initially here, it bounced off this level, then it reattempted, and then it broke above this level. This happens. Nothing lasts forever in life. Levels eventually will be broken. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. This level was broken, and then price moved or accelerated into the direction of the breakout. And our liquidity view indicator shows you this by means of this little zone break arrow. You can see it here. Yeah, the zone was broken. We see it here, and then price accelerated to the upside. These zone breaks can happen to the upside, but also to the downside when support is broken. It works just the opposite way, where price may then accelerate to the downside instead. All right. Okay, one more thing, and we're going to get to this concept a bit later when we discuss the exact trade setups, is the concept of what we call a liquidity capture. Let me just zoom out a little bit, or zoom in a little bit. You can see it here. This bar, for example, this reddish bar, has this label, liquidity capture near 575.35. What does that mean? Well, let me give you the technical explanation first, and I'm going to try to make sense of it from a trading point of view afterwards. From a technical point of view, this means that this bar here, this red bar, this bearish bar, wicked into this support level without closing below it, without breaking it. We wicked into it, but we didn't break it. That's condition number one. Condition number two is that this bar, this candle, needs to have abnormally high volume. And if these two conditions are coming together, wicking to support, and we have abnormally high volume, a liquidity capture event is being flagged. So this is the technical explanation. And of course, this can also happen at the resistance level, where we are wicking into resistance, we are not breaking it, and we have abnormally high volume. This is the explanation from a technical point of view. From a trading point of view, it's a bit more complex and nuanced. But one interpretation could be that we are approaching, let's say, support, volume is spiking up, which could be interpreted as a sign that, hey, big money orders are stepping in, buy orders are stepping in, which in turn may prevent price from dropping any further down, giving us additional confirmation that price indeed will be bouncing off this level towards the middle in between support and resistance. We can see it here. But it doesn't happen all the time, but oftentimes if we are approaching a level with a liquidity capture, these shaded areas here, only the last one is labeled, yeah, but this can happen in prior to this many times, but they're not labeled just to keep the chart a bit cleaner. So if this happens in combinations, chances are a bit higher that this level will hold up and price will bounce off from it. All right, so somebody's asking, the table and rows look a bit smaller than yours. This is because of this bar here. I just resized it. Look at this. Now, if you don't see this resized bar, you need to enable it first in the settings. You can simply go here, resize panels. This needs to be enabled for that. Okay, this was the liquidity IQ indicator, which comes with the dashboard. We're going to get back to it a bit later when we talk about the trade setups, which are of most interest. Okay, so the second indicator that comes with the dashboard is our MA rush indicator. So let me enable this one. Okay, so what does this indicator do? Once again, I'm going to make my chart a bit bigger so we can see it a little bit clearer. And by the way, guys, if your chart might be a bit distorted or maybe not centered, you can easily restore it to its default zoom settings, either by clicking on reset here. Oh, actually, this resets just the indicators, but you can restore it back to its regular settings. Just quickly go back here by double clicking on this axis here, on this price axis. So you see this little, my mouse pointer changes to like this arrows pointing up and down at the same time. You see this? This one here. Double click here, click, and we go back to the auto zoom settings. That's one way to do it. A second way to do it, which would work just as fine, is to click this little auto button down here. Click on it, and we're back to our automatically zoomed out settings. And if you want to do it manually, you can just drag on this axis up and down. Hold your left mouse button down and drag it up and down to change the zoom settings. And the same thing actually works also for the date axis here, the x-axis of your chart. If you drag it left and right, you can zoom in or zoom out, meaning you can condense price action or expand price action. That way it's very easy. Okay, so why am I telling you all this? Because this was actually asked by a user question earlier on today by email. Now, what I want to find now is, by zooming back a little bit, are points in time where MA Rush shows us labels on the chart. You can see it here. There's a bear label, this is a bull label. This label is an indication for you in which direction is our macro trend pointing to. And what's important for you is what was the last label on the chart. So for this one here, for the SPY, the last label is this label here. It's the bullish label. Meaning, we are currently, it's not very surprising, of course, we are currently in a macro uptrend as per our MA Rush indicator. This will become very important later on when we'll be scanning for some interesting setups, because we always try to trend with the overarching trend. We don't really want to go against it. So this will become important. So this is what this indicator specializes on. If I just go a little bit further back here, one thing that's important to know is that this indicator is designed to stick with a trend direction for as long as possible. In other words, it's designed to not change its mind all the time, like alternating very quickly between bearish and bullish and back to bearish and so forth. It's designed to stick to a trend direction for as long as possible. Because here we are looking at the macro trend. We don't want to change our mind, or the indicator should not change its mind when we have a little pullback. Some of this one here. Only if there is convincing evidence that this trend now has come to an end and it's reversing, then the indicator will also, in quotes, change its mind. Okay, so this was MA Rush, and we have one more indicator. Let me hide this one, and now I'm gonna enable the trend radar indicator directly below the price chart here. So how does this one work? Well, first off, MA Rush, I told you it's a macro trend indicator. Trend radar is also a trend indicator, but from a smaller perspective. Yeah, it is not looking back at years of trend direction. It has a shorter look back. That's the first thing you need to know. Secondly, even though in general it has a shorter look back, it still looks at differences between trends. So even if in this overall shorter look back period, it still looks at short-term trends, which are the upper two rows here, medium-term trends, and longer-term trends. It's last row here. And why is that? What's the purpose of having a second trend indicator on your chart? Well, this is meant to fine-tune your entries. For example, and if you listen to me talk prior to this webinar, you probably know this already. But for example, one item Trend Radar is really, really good at, it excels at, is to find healthy pullbacks within a longer term trend. So for example, let's look at the SPY here. We are in an uptrend. We know this because of MA Rush. It's bullish. We know this. It's an uptrend. But not every entry within this uptrend to the long side would be a good entry. We don't want to enter into a trend trade when we overextended. Now, when price is far away from its means, from its averages, we want to wait until price takes a bit of a break, a pause in trend, and then we want to enter in the direction of the overarching trend. And guess what? Trend Radar is designed to find you these pauses, these corrections within an overarching trend. Look at these little patches here of red, which go sometimes 3 levels down, sometimes 4 levels down, sometimes 2 levels down. These are breaks and pauses in trend. Great opportunities to re-enter into this long trade at a better entry price because price corrected down a little bit and with less risk on the table. Why less risk? We're going to see a bit later on. So not every trend entry is the same. You want to enter when these pullbacks are happening, and Trend Radar is designed to find you these pullbacks. This is why this indicator is important. Okay, so now let me quickly go back to my slides because now we're going to explain to you the second key feature of the dashboard. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to mention is the difference between our IQ charting and live charting. Forgot about this one. So quickly, one more time, back to the dashboard. Okay, what do I mean by this? Look at these two buttons here. IQ chart and live chart. Okay, now the IQ chart is where you can find our 3 flagship indicators: Trend Radar, MA Rush, and Liquidity IQ. Of all the levels and so forth, and all the labels and all the annotations. This is available on the IQ chart. The IQ chart operates on an end of day basis or higher. You see here, you have the time frame selector. You can select between daily, weekly, and monthly, but you cannot go below this. But of course, when it comes to taking trades, on executing trades, perhaps you want to know, hey, where is price right now while the trading day is open? This is where this live component comes in, the live chart. So if I click on it, you can see, okay, price right now for the SPY is at 572.91. In fact, when I say right now, for some symbols, actually for many symbols, this is delayed by a little bit. You see this little D icon here? It means it's delayed by 15 minutes. And this is a condition that is enforced to us by the exchanges. But at least it's, it's fairly live. It's 50 minutes delayed. And another advantage of this live chart component here is that you can go to smaller time frames. You can check, hey, what is the 50-minute time frame doing? What is the 1-minute time frame doing? And so forth. Okay, so for stocks, we have a bit of a delay. Other symbols, let's say FX. Let me just go to maybe Euro USD. Yeah. If you click here and the live chart opens, that's the actual live price. There's no delay. If you click on this little green button here, it tells you it's all green, there's no delay. And this is the actual spot price right now of Euro USD, which had a nice spike up in the last couple of days. And of course, you can go to other and smaller time frames as well. Crypto is another example. Let's look at Bitcoin. BTC USD. Here you also have live data. Live data of Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is at 88,805, give or take. Okay, this is where the live chart comes in. One, let's say, limitation of the live chart is that you do not have our built-in flagship indicators. Liquidity IQ, Rush, and Trend Radar. And the reason for this is because TradingView enforces. This is a chart that we get from TradingView with the data from TradingView. But as a limitation that comes with that is that we cannot use custom indicators on that chart. Only the built-in indicators that come with TradingView are available, but not our custom ones. So that's a limitation which is enforced to us from TradingView. All right. So, but nonetheless, if we had to summarize or differentiate or compare the IQ chart versus the live chart, and the IQ chart is based off end of day, but it comes with our flagship indicators. Whereas the live chart, it gets you the streaming data for stocks, ETFs, FX, crypto. Stocks and ETFs are a bit delayed, but FX and crypto are real time. It comes with the default TradingView indicators, and the purpose of this live chart is to quickly check, hey, where's price right now? Where's the current price right now? And to use intraday charts. All right. Now, let's move on to the next feature, the scanning component of our dashboard. And right now, I need to ask you for a little bit of patience because the scanning component is extremely powerful, and there's a lot of things we can scan for. And I want to explain to you what are the various scans that you can run and mix and match with the dashboard. Okay. Now, you can see it here. There can be 4 pages of scan criteria. Please be patient with this. Not all scans will be applicable for you, but at least I want to give you an overview of what is available so that you know what possibilities you have when it comes to scanning. All right. So the first set of scan criteria are these ones here: the symbol, the name, the type, date, price, volume, volume change or volume delta, and price delta. Okay, what do these mean? So for this, I'm going to go to the scanner. There we go. In our dashboard. And the first thing I'm going to show you actually, guys, is how can you actually see all these different values? Because you may look at the scanner here and say, hey, I don't see date or I don't see volume delta. Right now, where are those? Well, luckily, these can be configured with our column configurator. So you can see this little button here on top of the scanner. This is the scanner. You can click on it and you can enable and disable certain scan criteria. For example, here the date. It's not enabled yet. Once I click on it, it will come here. Volume, volume delta, price difference, and so forth. So now I've enabled the first set of symbols: symbol, asset class, name, date, price, volume, volume data, and price delta. Let's go through these one by one. All right. Of course, the symbol is simply the ticker symbol of whatever you're looking at. In this case, Agilent. Asset class is the asset class of that stock. And it's the asset class of that symbol, that stock. And we have 5 different asset classes that we support with the dashboard. If you click on this little filter icon here, you can see what these asset classes are. Actually, that's 6. Stock, cryptos, ETFs, futures, FX, and indices. These are the 6 different asset classes. And the cool thing is, simply by clicking on any of these filter criteria, see crypto, the filter will the scanner will immediately show you all the crypto symbols. And you can have multiple selection. Maybe you want to see cryptos and FX. That's what you're trading. Click on this one here, and then the scanner will, also show you FX symbols. Oh, did I click futures? Clicked the wrong button. FX. There we go. Now the scanner will show you cryptos and Forex. You can click on this column and sort alphabetically if it's something which is not numeric, in ascending order or descending order. Simply by clicking on those things. So this is how you can mix and match your scan criteria. And as you will see, you can pick any criteria from your scan columns here to, add additional filters or perhaps remove some of the filters. By the way, if you ever see this yellow button here on the right-hand side, this is an indication to you that a scan, or that a filter, I should say, is currently activated. At least one filter is activated. Of course it is. This asset class filter is activated here. And by clicking on this button, you can erase all the filters that are applied. I click on it, we're back to our status quo, back to our roughly 5,000 symbols that we are currently scanning through. So if I now sort again from alphabetically here by the symbol, we see Agilent once again listed first, because that's alphabetically the first symbol in terms of the alphabetical order. So this was asset class. Name, of course, is self-explanatory. That's the name of the symbol. Agilent Technologies Inc., for example, or Icoa Corp for AA, and so forth. If you click on this little info button, I should say, on the left-hand side of the name of the symbol, click on it. It will show you, or it will give you an explanation of what this company is actually doing. So for Agilent, you can see, if you want to read all this text here, you can see it's headquartered in Santa Clara, California, and it provides application-focused solutions for life sciences. And you can read the whole text and to give you a better idea of what's going on, what is the symbol actually doing, should you not know it. All right. Okay, so that was the name part. The date part. Date shows you when was this symbol, when were prices and all the other indications here, when was this recalculated? So here it says March 5th, which is yesterday. And this brings me back to another point. This scanner will, or everything in this scanner here will be recalculated at the end of the last completed trading day. So yesterday was March 5th. Once the market closed yesterday, the recalculation happens and all the new values are available around 2 hours after market close, just to manage expectation. Okay? For some asset classes, let's say Bitcoin and crypto or FX, it happens a bit later because they're the technical market close, even though markets don't really close for these symbols, is a bit later than 4:30 for the stock market. Yeah, just keep this in mind. But this date here will show you whether the symbol has already been recalculated or perhaps not, if it says a date from a prior early on this week, maybe March 4th, something. That's an indication to you. I typically have this date column not activated on my scan column. It's not so important. Next one is price. That's the close price of that trading day. So here, 126.51, like on Agilent, that was the close price on March 5th. And if you go to the price chart here, what do we see? 126.51, the close price of the last completed trading day. Volume, this is the average volume traded by this instrument, in this case 2.1 million. It's an average, allowing you to filter, for example, by stocks which are more liquid. Maybe you want to only focus on stocks which have at least 1 million shares traded on average. Now you can use this filter here, greater than 1 million, or perhaps greater than 10 million, and so forth. And you can see this updates almost immediately, instantaneously, as soon as you apply a filter. And of course, you can take this filter out by either clicking on no filter here, or by clicking on this yellow button. And John, what's the averaging period for the volume? It's 1 week. Yeah, 5 trading days. Okay, so that's that. Volume delta. This is an indication in percent. You can see this little percent sign here of how much the daily volume of the last candle is different percentage-wise from the average volume. So basically it compares the volume of the last candle to the average volume, which is this column here, and then it gives you either a negative percentage, in this case minus 27.7%, or a positive percentage. Now you can see whether volume is going up or down, or has been going up or down on the last trading day compared to the average volume. And of course, one more column here, which is very simple to explain, is the price difference in percent. How much did prices go up or down on the last candle? So what do we see here for Agilent on the last candle? Well, it's a big green candle. And if you contrast the close price of the day before, which is down here at 123.05, give or take, and the close price of this candle, which is 126, well, we can see, hey, we went up quite a bit. And in fact, if you want to do the math, we went up by 3.29%. All right, this is what you can see here. And of course, this can also be the case for things where things go down. Yeah, this one here, RBO. Actually, sorry, I forgot to mention, this is the difference. Sorry, one quick correction, which is important. This is the difference between the open price, I said this wrongly, and the close price. I misspoke. So here we have a down candle. Open price was here at 5.33, close was at 5.26, went down minus 1.31%. For Agilent, sorry, one more time back here, the difference between the open price down here at 122.50 and 126.51, which was the close price. So this is what's shown here by this column. All right. Okay, so these was the first set of scan criteria. Let's move on to the second set. And once again, I need you to guys to be a bit patient with me because there are a lot of criteria to go through. Okay, so what do we have here? We have now criteria for identifying gaps. I'll explain these in a second. To see what is the headquarter country of the symbol, the sector, the industry group, when are earnings coming up, when's the dividend X date, the date when you must, before you must own the stock if you want to receive the next dividend. What's the dividend yield and what's the forward dividend? So that's the next set of criteria. So let's go back one more time to our scanner and let's go through these criteria, starting with the gap percent. Okay, so, all right, 1 second, there we go. Where is my dashboard? Okay, perfect. All right, so first off, I'm going to enable these columns. When I click on these, it's going to bring me to another feature of the scanner. So I enabled all these, but you may say, hey, they don't even fit on the scanner here. What's going on, Daniel? Well, good point. They don't fit. There's not enough real estate here on the scanner. But what you can do, for example, is you can scroll down here. You see this little scroll bar down here? You can scroll to the right and to the left to see all these different columns. That's one thing you can do. If you disable scrolling, this is possible in the settings. If you just simply go here, see this little box here, scroll columns. If this is not enabled, let me just disable this for 1 second. I disable it. Now the scroll bar is no longer there. And instead, in order to see these additional columns of your scanner, you need to click on this little expansion arrow here. Click on it, and you can see all these columns listed here in this little expansion area. Okay, it's up to you how you want to use it. I personally prefer the scrolling feature with the scroll bar down here. There's another way. Another thing you can do, you can of course also expand the pane size for the scanner itself, making it bigger or smaller. That's another thing you can do. But for now, let me just go back. And what I will do is I will simply disable some of these other columns, which we had already discussed. Okay, so I'm going to go to my column configurator, and perhaps I'm going to disable asset class, date, volume percent, and 1 day change. That's close enough. Well, almost there. Yeah. So forward dividend was our last column which we wanted to discuss. Okay, so let's start with gap. This one here, gap percent. So probably we've all heard about gaps before. What are gaps? Well, a gap is, it happens overnight, and it's the difference between the close price of the prior day and the open price of the current day. And oftentimes, if price jumps up, and if it's big enough, it will qualify as a gap. If it's too small, like in case of Agilent here, then it is not big enough to qualify for a gap. So here, for example, you can see it here. We closed on this candle at, let's say, 122.94, and then the open was here at 122.44. That's too small. We don't consider this a gap. It was just a really, really minor thing. So gaps need to be sizable in order to show up here in this column. But let's look at the bigger one. Alcoa has a gap of 4.27%. It's the percent values. So what happened here? Let's open it up on the chart. Here the gap was bigger. Why? Well, you can see we closed on the prior day at, what's this level here? 31.13. Then we opened all the way up here at 32.51. You can see it here. This is a bigger gap, and it's an up gap. We gapped up. That's why it's green. You can also gap down. So look at this one here. Yeah. So here, what happened here? We closed on this candle here at 0.83, which is a very cheap stock. And then we opened the next day at 0.78. So this is what you can scan for now with these gaps. And of course, you can also use filters. Maybe you only want to see stocks which gapped at least 5% up or down. And you can find really crazy examples like Abercrombie and Fitch gap down 12.45%. Wow, that's a lot. What happened here? ANF. Yeah, look at this. Gap down, big gap down. So you can find these stocks which had these gaps. All right. So you may say, okay, why would I possibly want to scan for these gaps? Well, in trading, there is a reason for this. Because gaps tend to be filled over time. Okay, well, that's interesting. Now, maybe I want to see stocks which actually did have a gap and which had a gap fill already. All right, let's find one. This one here, Atta Creativity. Oh, this was the cheap stock here, but it doesn't matter. It had a gap of 6.02%. You can see we gapped down here, and we gapped down here, but this candle filled the gap already. Let's see, the wick of this candle exceeds the close price of the prior candle. This gap was filled. And we can see this on the dashboard by this little checkbox here. This gap was filled. You can filter for this. Yeah, by sorting. You can see all the stocks which had a gap and which had the gap filled. This one here, Adaptive Biology, ADPT. Huge gap. We closed here, gap down here, and then this candle was so big it filled that huge gap of 14% on the very same day. But perhaps more interestingly, or more important, are gaps which have not been filled yet, because these are yet to be filled, and we could trade accordingly. All right, so how can we find those? Well, those ones can be found by using one of these filters here. Let's say I want to find stocks where the gap fill was less than 10%. So only very little of the gap has been filled so far. Let me click on it, and let's look at this one here, Toyota. Wow, okay, Toyota had an up gap which was not filled. I click on it. What do we see? Yeah, look at this. We closed here. We gapped up. During this trading day, we only went down just a little bit. See the low price here? This was a very minor gap fill, because in order to fill this entire gap, we have to go all the way down here. So this is a gap which has not been filled yet, but it might be filled. Look at this one here. Here also we had a gap up, and then was filled over time. So this gives you some information as to what perhaps you can expect in the future, because now you can scan for these gaps. And if you're a gap trader, this lets you find the stocks which, for example, didn't have gap filled yet. All right, so I hope this explains it. Back to my original list. Okay, the next couple of columns are going to be a bit more straightforward. Country, sector, and industry. So the country simply indicates in which country is the headquarter of that symbol. The country will only be shown for stocks. So only stocks really can have headquarters. It's only applicable for the asset class stocks. So United States, of course, China, Brazil, and so forth. What's cool of the country is you can also type in which country you might be interested in. So maybe you are interested in getting some exposure in the Chinese market. Well, you type in China. Once you do this, you will only see stocks which are headquartered in China. In this case, we have 141 stocks currently tracked in our dashboard. Or perhaps Germany. Type it in English. Oops, 1 second. Delete this and put it in Germany. I see all the stocks which are headquartered in Germany. How many do we have? 168 currently being tracked. And of course, we can also do the United States. Maybe you're only interested in US stocks. Well, then you just simply filter by United States. And oftentimes it's enough to simply type in the first couple of letters to activate this filter. You can see it here. Okay, so that was the headquarter country. The next one is the sector. So the sector relates to the, I believe, 11 S&P 500 sectors, which are predefined. Healthcare, consumer defensive technology, and so forth. You can see all the sectors being listed here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sectors. And of course, sometimes a stock cannot be classified as all, or it's an asset class which is FX or crypto, which obviously is not in any of these sectors. But let's say you're interested in stocks which are perhaps in energy. Simply click on it and it will filter immediately all the stocks which are currently in the energy sector. And one important note here, this stock or this symbol doesn't necessarily have to be in the S&P 500. Yeah, it just needs to be classified according to this S&P 500 sector. Okay, so this is for the sectors. We have one more thing. We have the industry groups. Which you can see here, there are many, many different industry groups or subgroups in which a stock could be in. For example, Agilent, which is in the healthcare sector, but then in the sub-industry group, diagnostics and research. Yeah, this one here, ABio, also in healthcare, but in the subgroup biotechnology. Alcoa, it's in basic materials, subgroup aluminum. This one here, American Airlines, it's in industrials, subgroup airlines. So how can you perhaps find stocks which are in a particular subgroup? Well, simply type in that name. Maybe you want to see all the stocks which are in the airlines industry. Oops, if I can spell it correctly. Yeah, airlines. There we go. But all these stocks here, all these, how many do you have? 17 stocks on the airlines industry. Oh, that's not that many. And it's very specific. And this is how this allows you to find stocks of interest and also to see, hey, in which industry group is this particular stock in? Maybe you don't know it. Maybe you don't know where Mesa Air Group is in. Well, it's an airlines. Obviously, the name kind of gives it away, but nonetheless, this is the way how you can find out. All right, perfect. This was the second page. Oh no, that's not true. We have more. We have earnings, dividends, all the different stuff. I forgot about this. Okay, let's talk about earnings. Okay, if known, and of course this also only applies to stocks, to the asset class stocks. If known, the future upcoming earnings date will be shown in this column here. All right, so you can see, for example, here that Agilent has earnings coming up on May 27. All right, Ata Creativity has earnings coming up much sooner on March 24th. What's really interesting is you can actually filter by upcoming earning dates. Maybe you're interested, if you're an options trader and you're looking for extra volatility, maybe we want to see all the stocks which have earnings coming up in the next 2 weeks. Click on this filter here, less than 2 weeks, and you can see all the stocks which have earnings coming up soon. Yeah. Sometimes you can see it here. You have this little star or this asterisk next to the earnings date. That means that in theory, this earnings date can still change. But oftentimes it doesn't. So most of the time it does not. It's just a bit of a warning sign. In theory, it can still change. This is when you have this little asterisk here. Okay. You can also check if you want to do some retrospective. Hey, which stocks had earnings maybe 3 days ago or less than 3 days ago? Click on this one here. I see all the stocks which had earnings in the past. You can see the earnings date here is grayed out. Earnings already happened. For example, this one here, Adidas. Probably have heard of it. Adidas had earnings on March 5th. And as a result of this, I guess we had a bit of a gap coming up. When was it? March 5th was yesterday. Actually, what happened today? The life market. And not much happened with Adidas, but still, this is how you can see, hey, which stocks had earnings in the past and how the price react to it. Next column, dividend X date. So if you are a dividend investor, if you have received dividends in the past, you probably know, but this is the date by which, or before which, I should say, before which you need to own the stock if you want to receive the dividend, the upcoming dividend. Yeah, it needs to be before, the day before that date. So for example, if you know, hey, I'm gonna just filter here. Just 1 second. If you know, hey, what is this one? Let me find a stock in the US. 1 second. There we go. Okay. All right. So if you know, okay, let me find a good one for ADP. ADP is a stock in the technology software sector. Yeah. The dividends will be paid out on March 14 next week. All right. You need to own this stock by March 13 if you want to receive this dividend. Okay, that's important to know, of course, by which you actually have to have ownership of the stock. Secondly, of course, if dividends are being paid out, you also would like to estimate, hey, how much will I receive in terms of dividend? How much am I getting? That's money I'm getting. How much will I be getting? Well, this is where this little info box comes in. It shows you the last 10 dividends that were paid out and when they were paid out. From this info box, just hover over this thing, you can extract two key pieces of information. Number one, you can see what is my payout schedule. In this case, it's quarterly. Most dividends are paid out quarterly. Some are paid out monthly. Others are perhaps paid out, I don't know, yearly, perhaps. In this case, it's clearly quarterly. You can also see, if you look at the dividend amount on the right-hand side, what is the tendency of the dividends? Are they going up? Are they all over the place? Very, inconsistent. What is the tendency? So here it's pretty clear. Dividends are going up. Yeah, they've been increased over the last 10 dividends. Well, let's give you some information as to what to expect when dividends are actually being paid out on March or after March 14. They will be announced, I think, a day later or something. Because you never know what's going to be announced. You just know the dividend day will be that day. How much the dividend will be, you don't know. You can maybe perhaps but you can estimate it by looking at the evolution of dividends over time. All right. Next, you can also see what is my dividend yield. I can see it here. This is basically the dividends that were paid out over the last 12 months divided by the stock price. In this case, it's 1.95. For the dividend yield, the higher it is, the better it is. So for example, perhaps you want to find stocks which have dividends coming up where the yield is above 5%. All right. So what's our top candidate here? Let me just sort this from highest to lowest. So the top one here, but of course here you have to always take it with a grain of salt, is IEP, Icon Enterprises. Dividends are coming up on March 7, so you have to buy the stock today. The dividend yield is 29%, but you have to be careful when you see this. Chances are, if you look at the info box here, there were some irregularities throughout. Let me just go here. Yeah, look at this. Actually, dividends are going down. They were very big in the past, but they're actually going down. So you will probably never receive this dividend yield moving forward. I'll just keep this in mind. Okay. So what you probably want to see is somebody or a stock which has a more reasonable dividend yield. I'm just see the second candidate here, and where things are still increasing. Here maybe. And this here dividends are being increased. And this is one which is paid out monthly, if you look at the payout schedule. All right. Okay, so this is dividend yield, the higher the better, and it shows you a bit of extra information on what to expect from your next dividend. Now, lastly, it's this one here, forward dividend. That's an estimation as how much dividend per share, dollars per share, will I receive for the next 12 months. It's a projection based on the evolution, what you see here. How much will I receive in the next 12 months in terms of dividends? All right. So these were the dividend columns. All right. Moving on. And I told you guys you need to be patient for this one. It's a long one, but I think it's worthwhile. Okay. Next are these criteria here. Market cap, optionable, liquidity IQ setup, liquidity capture count, long reward risk, short reward risk. What are these all about? All right, let's look at it together. And afterwards, we only have a few more left. So I'd say in 10 minutes, we're going to have our break. So please stay tuned for this. So back to the scanner. And let me just disable some of the columns here real quick so we can see these more clearly. You can see how fast this updates. So we had market cap, optionable, liquidity IQ setup, liquidity IQ capture, long reward risk, and short reward risk. All right, perfect. All are shown here. Okay, I'm going to sort once again by these symbols. Okay, what is market cap? I guess that's the market. This is the market capitalization of that particular stock. It's only shown for stocks if it's in a different asset class. You see a little dash here. And of course, you can filter by stocks of different market cap sizes. For example, if you're only looking into big or large cap stocks, perhaps greater than $100 billion of market cap. And what's actually the strongest one here? Let me see. What is the biggest? Apple, that's the number one. Wow, very close with NVIDIA, huh? Apple has a market cap of $3.633 trillion. Oh, that's a lot. And NVIDIA, 3.048. Microsoft, 2.95, and so forth. Now you can sort by market cap to find the large cap stocks. So that's this column here. Next one is optionable. This column either has a checkbox or it does not have a checkbox. Just go by symbol name here. This checkbox shows you whether this particular symbol has, number one, an options chain, and number two, whether this options chain is reasonably liquid. Well, these two things need to be given for this checkbox to be here. And you can filter for it. I can filter for, hey, I only want to see optionable stocks. And now we are filtering, we're down to 1,048 stocks because all these stocks have liquid options chains. If you're an options trader, this is important information. Next one, liquidity IQ setup. We're going to expand on this a little bit more, but these setups here are based on our liquidity IQ indicator, which shows you these support and resistance zones. So what do we see here, for example? Where is price in relation to these zones? Well, in this case, we are right at this support level. And the price is right here. Meaning, we may be bouncing off to the long side from this level. Call this a long bounce. And look what's written here. Long bounce. Yeah. Not just this. It tells you long bounce 1. Meaning, since 1 bar, because this bar was a bit below, since 1 bar, we are in this setup. Other cases here, let's say A, or this one here, ABEO. This stock has been in a long bounce setup for 6 trading days. The number 6 here. Now, if you count up these candles, you see 6 candles to the past. We are in proximity of the support zone. So this tells you, hey, how many trading days has this stock been chilling out near its support level? This is long bounce. We also have short bounce. This one here, Apple. Apple is in short bounce. Yeah, we are right at this resistance level in Apple since 2 trading days. And there are other setups. The next one setup, for example, is long break. Long break means, hey, we are trading above our resistance level, which was broken. You can see it here. We had a long break 28 trading days ago. See this little arrow here? If I count the candles from here to there, that's exactly 28 days. We're trading above our resistance level. That's a long break. Or short break. We just go to this one. Short break is the opposite. We broke below support. Here, we broke below support 29 trading days ago. If you count these numbers, going to get to exactly 29 candles since we broke support. And when these breaks are happening, you could, for example, bet on the fact, hey, support is broken. This stock is going to continue to decline. You can now scan for these things. You can sort by stocks which had the break just recently. Now I'm sorting by clicking on this column here. I'm sorting from lowest to highest. For example, AAP, we just discussed it. Advanced Auto Parts, just recently, on the last candle, actually, we broke below support. And you could now bet on the fact, hey, maybe this stock is going to continue to decline. We're going to buy some put options for the stock. All right. So this was long break and short break. And then we have one more thing or 2 more things. We have long break retrace and short break retrace. Let's find you a good example here. So long break retrace happens, we have it here, if resistance, for example, was broken, we initially went up, but then price retraced back to the broken resistance level, which is now acting as support. It's a really powerful setup, one of my favorite setups, because oftentimes when this happens, the upwards momentum, which initially started here after this resistance zone break, is going to accelerate. Now the same thing also happens to the short side. And lastly, we have magnet zone. Magnet zone is a setup where we are in the middle, in between support and resistance. Now, somewhere in the middle, you can see it here. We're not near support, we're not near resistance, we're somewhat in the middle. You also can scan for that. We call this magnet zone. Okay. Now, next, moving on, liquidity capture. What is this column? Do you remember when I mentioned liquidity capture about an hour ago? We discussed liquidity IQ's indicator readings. What does this mean? Well, let me go to this one here, Agilent. Here you can see it has a capture count of 4. Okay, what does this mean? So let's look what's happening on the price chart. Do you see this label here, liquidity capture? If you count back the bars from the most recent one to where this one happened, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. This is what's shown here. This column shows you when did the last liquidity capture happened and what kind of capture was it. If it's red, in this case it's red, it was a liquidity capture near support level. If it's green, say this one here, or AAOI, it was a liquidity capture near a resistance level, this one here. You can now see exactly when these things are happening and how long it was ago. And once again, the interpretation from a trading point of view for these captures is that there's extra evidence that price may bounce off from this level and will not break it in return. All right, so that's this column, and 2 more: long RR and short RR. Long reward risk and short reward risk. Okay, that's an interesting one. Let's just stay for 1 second with our idea that, hey, maybe you want to trade a stock which is currently at support and may bounce off support, just like with Agilent here, and may bounce off to the upside. So what I did, I filtered by all stocks which are currently near support with the long bounce setup. But of course, if I want to trade, I also want to know, hey, how much can I possibly gain with that trade? What is my, in other words, reward to risk ratio? Okay, so for reward to risk, 2 things are important. First off, where's my stop loss and where's my profit target? One thing I didn't tell you yet, our liquidity IQ indicator comes with a target. I'm just looking at Chris's message. Yes, it's recorded for sure. Comes with a target and a stop loss indication. So if you go to the settings of Liquidity IQ, click on this one here and go all the way down, a lot of options here, to this one here, show target long and show stop long. Once you click on those, you see the indicator is telling you now, hey, if I were to trade this bounce setup, the indicator suggests to put your stop here at 120.41 and your target here at 146.33. And if you do the math between how far is the stop loss away and how much can I gain when my target is hit, you will get a reward to risk ratio of 3.25. Trust me on this one. Okay. Now, why are we showing this here? Because this can be an excellent way to find the stocks with the best reward to risk ratio, simply by filtering, let's say from highest to lowest. This is of course a crazy one. This is often an indication this stock is not very liquid. Can't see it here. But if you go to a more sensible stock, let's say maybe this one here, now you can say, okay, if I were to trade this long bounce setup with my stop being here and my target, oh boy, it's really being all the way up here, I would get a reward to risk ratio of 26.39. Maybe a bit unrealistic. I'm going to show you later on how you can further find more realistic setups. But this is the way to do it. Yeah, by taking into account what is my reward to risk ratio. We're going to get back to this topic here. So this can be done in the long direction, but also in the short direction, short reward to risk. All right. Okay, so one more and we're done before the pause. The last set of indicators, of columns: MA rush, R score, pullback, trend aligned, and volatility. What are these? Okay, so let me quickly enable them. So I'm going to go back to my column configurator, and I'm going to, let's say, disable the other ones and only focus on these new ones: MA rush, R score, pullback, trends aligned, and volatility. What are these? Okay, MA rush. MA rush, remember the indicator here, which is our macro trend indicator. So we can now see directly in the scanner whether the macro trend is bullish or perhaps bearish. If it's bullish, it's green and the arrow is facing up. If it's bearish, it's red and the arrow is facing down. That's the first thing you see. If you click on Agilent here, we can see, even though we went all the way down here, but from a macro trend point of view, we are bullish. okay? From a long, long point of view. Aeon, this one here, for example, also bullish. And once again, we had a huge pullback, but from a macro point of view, we are bullish. The stock is going up. Huge correction, probably a nice fib retracement here directly to this support level. But from a macro point of view, we are in an uptrend. And if you were to count the candles from the last candle on the chart all the way back here to this label where it says bull, you will get the number 576. You see this one here? This is an indication for you of how long this uptrend has been going on. What you can do then, for example, you can tell the column, hey, sort by only bullish stocks. And you sort, filter by only bullish stocks, then sort from highest to lowest. And then you can see, for example, that Lilly, it's a great company, yeah, has been bullish for 1,310 trading days. It's like 5 years or more. If you scroll all the way back, you're probably going to see a bull label at some point. If I go all the way back, let me just quickly disable this the zone break label to make it a bit more clear. Yeah, we were bullish. Just a second here. Oh boy, I can't even. There, from this point on. 1 second. All right, let's make this a little bit clearer. So here, with our bullish label on December 9th, 2019. That's more than 5 years. We've been bullish, and this bullish trend has been continuing. This is a way for you to find the most bullish stocks in the market. Or bearish ones, for that matter. Okay, R score. So MA Rush is for the macro trend. R score relates to trend radar. You can see it down here. Okay, now trend radar, I told you this in the beginning, is meant to measure, a shorter term trend period. It has nuances in it. In that shorter period, it looks still at longer term trends and shorter term trends, but it's meant for the, not for the macro perspective, but for the shorter term perspective. And we have come up with a metric which shows you how bullish or how bearish the shorter term look back is. You can see this by this number here. So for example, 92.32 means it's slightly bullish in the shorter term. Last 50 bars, let's say, as a rule of thumb. Or if you take one which is very red, like this one here, ACRS, you can see, hey, this is very bearish in the shorter term. And you can sort by this. For example, I want to sort by, from the most bullish to the most bearish. HSBC, super bullish. Look at this one, short term. It's parabolic. It's a huge score, 462. Yeah. Or in the opposite direction, this one here, GHSI. Super bearish. Look at how red everything is here in trend radar. Super bearish in the last, in the more recent look back. This is a way for you to see, hey, what is happening more recently besides the macro trend. All right. Okay, pullback. Perhaps even more important. Remember when I said trend radar excels in finding these healthy pullbacks, these corrections, these pauses in a longer term uptrend? This is where this column comes in. Let me explain to you how this works. So let's say we are considering stocks which have been bullish for a long time. Let's take Sensora, this one here. Bullish for 1,210 trading days. All right. Now, okay, this is great. It's a very bullish stock. And maybe I want to enter along into the stock. But when should I enter? Well, what you can do is you can look at trend radar here. You can see it here. Okay, trend radar has all these red patches throughout this overarching uptrend. Maybe one way to enter would be to wait for a red patch to come. And depending on how deep this red patch goes, we have different types of pullbacks. Yeah. And then enter when such a pullback happens. Wouldn't that be cool? All right. So what you can do is you can, for example, filter by long-term uptrending stocks and then by stocks which have a level for a pullback. Okay, I did this now. So you see this number 4 here. Linde PLC, for example, very bullish. Things have been going up, but recently, you can see it here, we are experiencing a level for a pullback, a pause in trend. We went down to our means here, a reversion. Maybe now this could be an interesting opportunity to enter into this long trade. We're not as extended anymore to the upside. Or AMP, Ameriprise Financial. Similar, long-term bullish for a long time, but recently we had a nice pullback. Maybe a good idea to enter into this long trade. This is what you can get from this column here. And two more, we have trends aligned and volatility. So this one here, trends aligned. What is this? Okay, trends aligned also relates to our trend radar indicator. Let me first explain to you this. Let me just make this a bit bigger. You see, every once in a while, you see these dots on the last row in trend radar. Right now, we don't have one at the last bar, but sometimes we have these dots. These are what we call alignment dots, meaning that the moving averages that we use to measure our trends in trend radar, these are stacked. So in an uptrend, the shortest term or the shortest period moving average is above the medium term MA, which is above the longer term MA, which is above the longest term MA. They're all sorted. And this can be interpreted as a sign of trend strength. How strong is this trend? Look at it. Look at here. When we had all these alignment dots in a row, how fast things moved up. And you can get some information out of this. And you can, for example, filter for this. So let's say I only want to see bullish alignment dots, and I sort now by them from longest to shortest. I can see, for example, here that this stock, I don't know what it is, ALTR, Alter Engineering Inc., has all these alignment dots. How many in a row? If you were to count them, you would get to this number here, 113. In other words, this is a stock which is very extended to the upside. It's been super, super bullish. Now, you may say, okay, all right, it's super bullish. I want to enter in. I personally would be more careful because this could also be a sign that, hey, we've been so bullish, maybe it's time for a correction. So yeah, this can go both ways. But at least now you can sort or find these stocks which have these alignment dots. And lastly, the volatility column here. This is simply an indication of historical volatility. It's meant for options traders, users who want to or considering buying options. You want to buy options when volatility is low. And this column allows you to find stocks where the volatility is relatively low, medium, high, or extreme. This allows you to find potentially symbols which have affordable option contracts right now. This is meant for this one here. This is based on a measure called historical volatility. All right. So, guys, with this, I warned you this is going to take a while. Let me ask you guys, are there any questions, Niklas?
Yeah, Daniel, we got them all, but we have one here from John. He says, for the field that shows average volume,
yeah,
how many days is that an average of?
I believe it's 1 week. It's 5 trading days.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And then another one, maybe this is for later, but it was a chart request.
Yeah, this we're going to do later. Perfect, guys. So with this, please take a short break, a 10-minute break. I definitely need to drink some water. And then we're going to continue with our next topics. But I promise you it's going to be a more straightforward. I just want to take this time to go through all these scan features. I know it's important. Take a small break and we're going to reconvene at 1:33 Eastern time. So in 10 minutes from now. All right, everyone, let's continue with our Liquidity IQ Bootcamp. And I promise you from now on, it's going to be a bit more straightforward and a bit quicker as well. So please be comfortably seated and let's get into it once again. A quick reminder to start things off. What are the main setups, or perhaps even we may call them patterns, that you can scan for with our Liquidity IQ setup column? Because that's typically, at least for us here at Trading Indicators, the most frequently used column. Because you can scan with that column in the scanner for setups that, like at long or short bounces of resistance and support. For breakouts, is the stock breaking above resistance or support right now or below? Did we have a retrace after a breakout, or are we perhaps in the middle, in between these levels? This is oftentimes one of the key criteria that we use in every single scan. You're going to see later on which are the main scans that we're running typically. Yeah, so this is just a quick reminder of what you can scan for. Now, talking about the scanner, also a bit of a review. What can you do with it? Well, you can show and hide columns. You've seen this. You can enable the scrollable columns feature. You can make the scanner bigger or smaller. You can enable or disable filters, and we have something called quick search. Now, what is quick search? Well, let me quickly go back to the dashboard because this is something we have not talked about yet. So first I'm gonna make my scanner a little bit bigger again so we can see it here. Okay, quick search is this box up here. It allows you to quickly find any symbol of interest. Let's say you're interested in Tesla. All right, type in the symbol, either the actual ticker symbol or the name. So you can also type in Tesla like this. It will also find the same thing. Okay, so let's click on it. Where's Tesla right now? All right, so Tesla has been in a big downtrend, but I really, really like the setup. Look what happened here. We had the break above. Actually, let me quickly enable this for 1 second, guys, so you can see it. So I'm enabling the zone break arrows on the chart. We had a break above resistance here, and now a nice retracement back to the broken level, which is likely acting as support now. This is the key critical juncture of Tesla. I'm wondering, where is it right now? So yesterday it closed at 279.10, and today it is 263, a bit further below, but still exactly still in this area. So it's the critical juncture of whether where price may bounce off again to the upside, or which is also a possibility because it's so nearby, we may go down all the way to this support level here at 200, around 210. Okay, so this was the quick search column here. All right, and the other features I mentioned was to enable scrollable columns with this button here. So if it's disabled, you don't have the scroll bar here. You can enable and disable different columns in the scanner itself to customize it exactly the way you want it to. Okay, but now let's talk about something else. Let's talk about watch lists. What are watch lists? Well, a watch list may be, your list of favorite stocks. Maybe you have a list of 10 stocks which you're following. Well, you could add and save these stocks within a watch list. And our dashboard does have such a watch list feature. And the purpose is to quickly being able to access a subset of the symbols. Our watch list, they can have any number of symbols. There's no restrictions. You can add, I don't know, 5,000 symbols to the watch list or perhaps 1 or 2. It doesn't matter. Okay, but what's important is that we do actually have 2 different types of watch lists. Let's start with the regular one. The regular watch list is a watch list where you, the user, you are picking the symbols which you want to add to the watch list. We call it a regular or a static watch list because you are adding these symbols to it. So let me quickly go to the dashboard and show you how this works. And if you are following us, for example, if you're following our scanning session on Saturdays, you've seen me create these watch lists every single weekend. See all these ones here. These are all different watch list names, which I had created. But let's say we're going to create a brand new one. So I can click on this create button here. So first I go to this drop down, click on create, and I can enter. Let's say, all right, maybe Daniel's top stocks. All right, so these are my top stocks. I can create it. The watch list is now created, and initially it's completely empty. So if I now go to Daniel's top stocks, this one here, you will see, hey, this watch list is empty. Of course, because I didn't add any symbols to it. Okay, how can I now add symbols to it? Well, one way to do it is to do it manually one by one through the scanner. So I can go back to my scanner here, just a second, and then add watch lists. Oops, just 1 second. I can add symbols to my watch list. So maybe I want to add, I don't know, we just talked about Tesla. Perhaps Tesla is in my top stocks. Maybe Morgan Stanley, I used to work there. This could be another top stock. There we go. Morgan Stanley, maybe another one, and so forth. You can see you can just add these symbols to the list. And maybe NVIDIA too. Everybody's talking about NVIDIA, of course. Let's add this one to Daniel's top stocks. So this is one way to add it. You can add these symbols to the watch list. And if I now switch over to my watch list, you can see, okay, well, these stocks are now in my watch list. That's pretty cool. Okay, but it's pretty straightforward. But what else can you do with them? Well, one thing I didn't tell you yet is you can also add multiple
symbols to a watch list. So let's say maybe you want to create a watch list of only, let's say, German stocks. What can you do? Well, for example, you can create yet another watch list. Click create here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, German stocks real quick. I want to show you another feature. So this watch list is now created. And then I could, for example, sort either up here by typing in .de to find all the German stocks, or what else I could do, I could go to my country selector here and put the country Germany in here. All right. So now I have all these stocks here, this 168 stocks. And one thing I can do is I can do Control A on my keyboard. Once I do this, you have this big bar on the left-hand side, meaning that all the stocks, all the symbols are now selected. And I can add them all at once to my watch list. Done. 100, these ones plus 163 symbols were added to the German stocks watch list. That's possible too. And there's one more thing you can do. Let's say you want to add a couple of them, but not all. You can hold down your shift key, select the first one, then this one, and so forth. You can select like a subset of them by holding down the shift key. Or if they should not be in a row like this, you can hold down your control key and just select multiple ones. You can see here, all like this. Control A and add these to the watch list as well. That's possible as well. Now, once things or stocks are on your watch list, of course, let's say in my Daniel's top stocks again, I could also remove stocks from my watch list. Maybe Tesla I don't want anymore. Click remove Tesla, and it's going to be gone from my watch list as a result. That just takes a second, and now Tesla is gone. And of course, these are all saved to your account. Next time you log in, you see exactly this watch list again. Okay, so these are the manual watch lists. There's one more thing actually I forgot to mention is you can also import watch symbols to a watch list. For example, here you can click the import button here. Let me just do this right now. You click import. This will open up a dialog. And in here, you can select a CSV file, which is basically a comma-separated file, which must have in your column A of your spreadsheet all the symbol names that should go into your watch list. Then you can import these ones directly from a spreadsheet. That's possible as well. Just make sure in column A, your symbols are listed. Okay, and that's that feature. And Russ, one more thing which I didn't mention. If you want to import symbols to an already existing watch list, or to you can use this button here. Maybe you want to add a few more German stocks to our German stocks watch list. You can simply do this via this import button here, which will add existing symbols to an already existing watch list. Okay, so these are your static watch lists or your manual watch list. But we have thought, that's going to be very important when it comes to alerts afterwards, we have thought of an even more sophisticated type of watch list, which we call dynamic watch lists. Okay, here's a hypothetical. Let's say you have a certain scan criteria in mind. Maybe, I'm just making this up, you are interested in stocks which trade, let's say, above the $25 mark. Just a second here. So let's say above $25. Maybe only US stocks. Let's keep this country for now. Stocks which are bullish as per MA Rush, and which are, let's say, hypothetically, let me just open my liquidity IQ setup column here, and which are in a long bounce setup. And perhaps which are currently on a level for pullback as per trend radar. Okay, so we have 4 criteria here. We currently have 29 stocks which qualify for these criteria. What you then can do is to create what we call a dynamic watch list. This is a watch list where you do not add the symbols manually to it, but the symbols will automatically be chosen based on these criteria. And this updates every single day. So you're going to click add dynamic watch list and give it a name. Maybe bullish stocks with pullback, whatever. You say create, and this watch list is now being created. And the cool thing is, every single day, new symbols will get into this watch list, and other ones will be removed from it. All right. This is possible with a dynamic watch list. And if you go to your drop down here, you can see the dynamic watch lists they all have these reddish or orange color because these are dynamically chosen. You can't add symbols manually to those. These are dynamically chosen. The other ones here, the user-based watch list, here the stocks have been chosen by the user manually. All right, so this is how a dynamic watch list works. Just one more thing when it comes to watch lists, of course, you can rename them via this icon here or even delete them via the trash icon here entirely. That's also possible. All right, now let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about alerts. Of course, wouldn't it be nice if you would be alerted every time my dynamic watch list updates, perhaps by an email, which shows you right now, okay, what symbols are currently qualifying for these criteria of my dynamic watch list. We have thought about this too, and this is where the alerts feature comes in. Our alerts feature will send you automatically an email around 2 hours after market close with an update of all the stocks which currently qualify for a dynamic watch list. And soon, this will come next week, you have the option to actually put multiple dynamic watch lists into your alerts. So maybe you have a dynamic watch list for, let's say, bullish stock with pullbacks. Maybe you want to have one for bearish stocks. Maybe you want to have a dynamic watch list for stocks where earnings are coming up. Stuff like this, you can now define alerts for. And all you need to do is to go to your settings box here, the settings gear. Click on trade alerts, this one here. And first of all, enable trade alerts. And secondly, and this will update tomorrow, this is still an older version, you will select the dynamic watch list based on which you would like to receive the alerts. And soon you can select multiple watch lists here. And once enabled, you will get to your inbox every single day an up-to-date email with the current symbols which qualified for your dynamic watch lists. This is a big improvement to our older alerts feature, where the alert criteria were predefined by us. But we understand that, hey, everybody has different interests when it comes to symbols, different criteria. And now with these dynamic watch lists and being able to define alerts based on the dynamic watch list, you can now basically customize your alerts. Chris is asking, will it be possible to get text messages in the future? I'm not sure. We haven't looked into this, but definitely we are looking into different alert mechanisms, potentially even posting things directly to a Telegram room or something like this. Perhaps in the future, Chris. Okay, now this were the alerts. All right, so now let's move on. Ease of life or quality of life features in the dashboard. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of a round trip of all the convenience features which you can use to customize or take advantage of some of the bulk features of the dashboard. Ease of life features. So what can we do? Let's start with the most important one, at least in my view. Trade notes or journaling. Then we're going to move on to export to CSV, light versus dark mode, resetting the chart, full screen mode, chart screenshot, and chart annotations. Okay, let's go through these quickly one by one, starting with trading notes. If you are following us for a while in our lunch and learn sessions or in our weekly power scanning sessions, which happen on the weekend, you already know that it is possible to add trade notes to your symbols. So first of all, these trade notes are enabled if you see this little notes icon to the left of the symbol. If you don't see this icon, it means that trade notes are disabled and you have to enable it first. And you can enable these trade notes by going to settings and just enable or disable the notes feature here. And see it here. Okay. Once enabled, you can define trade notes. So for example, here for Agilent, I can click on it. And in fact, I can already see that Agilent already has a trade note because it's filled out. If it's not filled out, it means the symbol does not have any trade notes. And actually, guys, I can even filter by symbols which have trade notes. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's click on Agilent. Agilent is opening up, and this is not a very meaningful trade. Let me find a better one. Now, let's go to Costco. So with a more meaningful trade node. So Costco also has a trade node. I know this because I went through this symbol many times in our past sessions. I click on it, and what opens up is the last trade node, which I had added to Costco. In this case, the trade node only consisted of this little screenshot here, back from March 1st. And I could edit this trade node if maybe I made a mistake, I want to make some changes, or I could add another trade node with today's timestamp by simply clicking on this plus sign here. So I can click plus and add another trade node here. Maybe for this, let me quickly actually, before I do this, go to the chart to put a meaningful trade node here. Okay, so Costco is in a nice zone break retrace setup. Now pulling to the upside. Yeah, this looks good. So what I could do, for example, I could add another trade node for with today's date, March 6th. And I could say, hey, Costco. There we go. 1 second. My keyboard is not cooperating. There we go. Okay. Costco is in a zone break retrace setup. You can see whatever you want. You can format your tags. You can do all these things. Then what you can also do is you can add a chart screenshot to your trade node as well by clicking on this icon here. See this one? Insert a chart screenshot. I click on it. It takes a second or two because it has to be, downloaded first and added to the node. And then it's added here. And this chart screenshot has all the annotations that are included in your chart. See this little box here? That's also here. I added this manually. These are all added to your screenshot as well. It's a really convenient feature to add some trade notes to your trading. And one last thing, you can also dictate your trade notes using this microphone feature here. So for example, I could say, and with my German accent, it's not so easy, but you could say something like, Costco is an interesting stock with a prolonged uptrend. And then you can see that, yeah, it even understood me. Pretty cool. Can dictate your trade notes directly to this box here by clicking on this microphone button. And one last thing, look at these little lines here below your notes box. This one shows you how many trade notes are available for Costco. In this case, 4. And the last one is selected. And you can navigate between these trade notes with these buttons here, with all the different trades that we have taken over time. Here's the timestamp for it. It's a very nice way to create a trading journal. And soon, guys, there will be a way to export these trade notes either to HTML or potentially to PDF. That's coming too. That's a future feature. All right, so this is trade notes. The next one we had was export to CSV. Everything you see in the scanner can be exported to Excel via this button here. So right now, for example, we have 4,131 symbols selected. I could click this button and all those symbols would be exported to CSV. It's a big file, 482 kilobytes. If I open it, just for the fun of it, this opens up in Excel, it's a CSV file. You could see all the columns which are currently activated in your scanner in this Excel file, just opening up on a different screen. But if I pull it in here, you can see it right here. Symbol, asset class, name, price, country, and so forth. All these different columns are available as well. Why did we add this feature? Well, because it allows you to, export some stuff for further processing, or maybe you want to share it with someone. Say, hey, these are the stocks which I found interesting. Well, now I can export them to CSV very conveniently. Okay, next one, light versus dark mode. Yes, we have 2 different modes. My favorite one is the dark mode. But if you prefer a lighter theme, you could click on this button here and the whole dashboard will load, this is very bright for me, at least for my eyes, in a lighter theme. That is a question of preference, but you have the option to switch between a light theme and a dark theme. I prefer the dark one. You can reset your chart. We've seen this already in the beginning, which basically simply applies the default indicators to your price chart with their default settings. This button here. Okay, you can go to full screen mode of your chart. Now click on this button here. It brings up a full screen picture of your chart. Yeah, you can, of course, look at it. You can see all your things for further analysis. If you want to exit this full screen mode, simply press escape on your keyboard. So I do this, I press escape, I'm back to my normal mode. And perhaps one other thing or two more things related to this chart is you can, of course, hide all your manual annotations. Maybe you had some, trend channels drawn on the chart or whatever. Maybe it's too much. You can hide all these at once by clicking on this button here, hide all your annotations, or enable them with this button here. And you can even take screenshots of your chart. Take a snapshot. You can download the image, copy it, send the link, and so forth. This also works. All right. And last but not least, for the German speakers among you, we now have the option to switch between English and German as well in the dashboard. That's also possible. And one cool thing is once you switch to German, Deutsch, your dictation feature for your trade notes will listen to German instead of English. Yeah, so if you want to dictate in German, make sure to switch the language first to German here. Otherwise, it's going to be chaotic. All right. And thanks for all these commentaries that are coming in. That's great. We're going to discuss these in a bit. All right. So these are the quality of life features. Okay. But let me go back to my slides one more time, because to round off this bootcamp, I want to do one more thing. I want to discuss some sample setups with you and what potentially you can scan for. So I'm going to give you some hypothetical scenarios, and we're going to try to find stocks which qualify for these interesting setups. All right? So it's going to be very practical. Okay. Now, setup number one, hypothetical. I am a trend trader and I want to find entry opportunities for strong bullish stocks. How can I use the dashboard for symbols which qualify for these? Let's do it. All right. So what could we do? And there's many different ways to do it. Many different indicators could be used, but this should give you just an explanation of how one could do it. All right. So back to the dashboard. So trend trader, I want to find entry opportunities of strong bullish stocks. Okay. So criteria number one, I guess in that sentence was, hey, I want to look for stocks. All right. So let's use our asset class filter first, this one here, and only select stocks as the asset class. Great. So I click on it, and now only stocks are selected. So 4,519 symbols out of 4,931. Done. All right. There was also, hey, I want to see bullish stocks. So let's use our MA Rush indicator for this. So a macro trend indicator, and only search for bullish stocks. All right. I click bullish. Now we're down to 2,388 stocks of all these. All right. What else do we have? Maybe I also want to stocks where we currently are seeing a pullback, because I want to see for opportunities, not things which are very expensive right now. Maybe things which are trending but are currently experiencing a pullback. So maybe I'm going to use my pullback column here, which is based on trend radar, and scan for, let's say, level 3 pullback, which are pullbacks which go 3 levels down, like this one here. All right, now we're down to 128 stocks. And perhaps if you want to further reinforce your setup, maybe you also require that for my pullback, I also want alignment dots on the last couple of hours. That means this trend is very strong. It pulled back a bit, but it's still a very strong trend. All right, let's do this. Let's go to trends align here, and let's filter for bullish alignment dots. Okay, now we're down to 17. All right, so let's see which stocks have we found. What I like to do actually is I like to sort from into the trend duration here. So what did we find? Actually, the one I was looking for, give me 1 second. Actually, let me go alphabetical again. Oh, yes, I was sorting actually by the number of alignment dots. And here, the one stock that came in mind, I don't see it now, whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's say Coastal Financial Corp. All right, what's this? Okay, it's a stock. It's very bullish for 188 trading days. A lot of alignment dots. You can see it here, 35 in a row. But we did have a nice pullback recently, back to its mean. Maybe an interesting opportunity to enter into this long trade after this pullback. Yeah, Possibility. It's possible. So this is one idea how you can find these kind of stocks. All right, but let's move on. There are other opportunities as well. Let's clear it up. Let's go back to another setup. Okay, I am a long-term options trader and want to find an affordable outright call option setup. Oof, lots of words in here. Maybe I should simplify these a bit. Okay, so what stands out? First of all, options trader. I want to find stocks which are optionable. All right, we have a column for this. The second one is, well, I want the options to be affordable. So maybe volatility should be relatively low. Okay. In addition to this, if I want to go for a call option, maybe there should be some evidence that this symbol, the underlying symbol, will actually continue to go up. Okay. So, all right, all kinds of things are there. So how can we find this? Let's break this down one by one. Okay. So back to my scanner. And the first thing I stood out to say, I want to look for symbols which are optionable. Okay, so where's my optional column? I don't see it, but this is because I had it disabled. So I'm going to go here to enable optionable. There we go. All right. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enable this optional filter. Only stocks which have an options chain which is liquid should be in our list here. Okay, so 1,048 stocks. Still too many. Okay. Now, what else do we have? So let's say we also want the option price to be somewhat affordable. So maybe not stocks which have extreme volatility right now. So let's go to my volatility column. That's enabled. All right. Let me scroll over here and let's say, okay, maybe only stocks which have low and medium volatility. All right, perfect. We're down to 615 stocks. We also want stocks which are likely to continue to go up. Okay, let's use ME Rush one more time to find stocks which are bullish, down to 434 stocks. All right. Once again, for trend trading, maybe we want to look for a deeper pullback. Let's use our pullback column, but in this case for a level 4 pullback. All right, we're down to 71 stocks. And perhaps just to make things a bit more convincing in our case, let's also bring in Liquidity IQ. Let's say we only want to find stocks which are currently trading near a support level. Let's choose the long bound setup, which means price is currently near support. So now we're down to only how many? 8 stocks. All these ones here. Yeah, they all have options chains. They satisfy all our criteria. And if I click on those, AMP, for example, yeah, we can see we are near support. That's good. Level 4 pullback, long-term uptrend. It's medium volatility, so option prices are probably fairly affordable, and so forth. If I want to go even more extreme, maybe I'm going to go to a lowly priced or a low volatility stock. This one here, Kinder Morgan. Yeah, same here, long-term uptrend, nice pullback, directly to support. It's optionable. Level 4 pullback, low volatility. And again, if you're an options trader, you want to find things with low volatility because you want to buy these options as cheap as possible. Right? All right. And perhaps one more thing you could look in here is that, hey, maybe I want to avoid upcoming earnings. So maybe let's bring in the earnings column. Yeah. Let's see for this one. Earnings are coming up only on April 15. Perfect. Yeah, this could be an interesting long options trade. All right. Moving on. One more time. Back to my slides. What about the following scenario? Where are my slides? There we go. Okay. What about I am a swing trader looking for a promising entry with a great risk-reward ratio. All right. Let's do that. Let's find that. Okay, so swing trader. Once again, I'm going to focus on the long direction here and great risk-reward. All right, and promising entry. All right, what can we find here? So one more time, back to our dashboard. I clear up all the criteria here. And the first thing we're going to bring in is reward risk. So we have a column for this one, long reward risk. That's what we want to focus on. Perfect. And let me just quickly take off earnings. We're not going to need it. And maybe country as well. All right. So what do I want to look for? And then, you know what? Let me put a market cap too. We only want to focus on big stocks. Yeah. So let's start with that one. Let's say market cap over, I don't know, 10 billion. Perfect. Down to 849 stocks. Oh, lots of very valuable companies out there. Okay, that's number one. So for the long direction, maybe I also want to focus on bullish stocks once again. So MA Rush should be bullish. Oops, bullish. Down to 634 stocks. Maybe once again, I want stocks which are currently trading near support level. All right, long bound setup once again. Down to 54 stocks. And now the kicker. Let's find stocks with a great reward to risk ratio. Maybe only stocks which have a reward to risk ratio of, let's say, greater than 2.5. Done. Down to 21 stocks. And if I now sort this from highest to lowest, you can see the first one that stands out is this one here. Hubble Inc. B. All right, let's have a look. What's going on here? This stock is trading near support. All right, we've seen a bit of a pullback here, a deep pullback. But of course, because it was so deep, this gives us a great reward to risk ratio because our target, so our stop loss would be just below price here at 333.79, like 5% below current price. And our target would all the way be up here below our resistance level at 465, a 31% upside target. If you do the math, this would give us a 5.55 reward to risk ratio. Now, that's another way you could find interesting setups. And one more, just to round it off. What if I was interested, and I'm more of a longer term investor, I want to buy stocks that pay regular and increasing dividends. How can I find these? All right, so once again, new concepts being introduced here. In this case, it's dividends and buying stocks, going long. I also want my stocks, of course, to be increasing, well, ideally. So how can we find this? Okay, so once again, since I'm looking for dividends, maybe I want to look for reputable stocks, stocks which have a big market cap. Yeah, so let's do our first filter here, a market cap of at least 10 billion once again. Secondly, just talk about dividends. Let's bring in the dividend yield column. All right, and maybe the X-date as well. So put in these two in, dividend X-date and dividend yield. So I want to find stocks which pay a big dividend, meaning a high dividend yield. Perhaps a dividend yield, let's say above, I don't know, 5%. Great, now we're down to how many? 69 stocks. Okay, perfect. And ideally, dividend is one thing. I also want my stock to increase in value and stock price over time. Yeah, maybe I'm going to focus on bullish stocks, which are overall bullish. So let's use Trend Radar. So Trend Radar, let's use MA Rush, and look for bullish stocks. I click on it. And now we're here, we're down to how many? 31 stocks. Okay. And now what I can do is I can perhaps sort by dividend yield. Actually, one stock, and this is the one I was looking before, is this one here, HSBC Holdings PLC. It's a crazy stock. It's a very, very bullish stock. Look at this one. This is really parabolic. I'm not sure what's going on here with this stock. It's super bullish. And coincidentally, this stock has a really high dividend yield, or has had one the last 12 months. And the X-date is tomorrow. So, if you're considering this one, you would have to buy in the next 2 hours or less than 2 hours to get the dividend. Huge dividend yield of 12.02%. It's a very bullish stock. Let's have a look at the history of dividends. I'm going to click on this. We can see here, hover over this. We can see, okay, a few warning signs. Look at how dividends were paid out quite irregularly. So 0.9 and 0.45, then 1.15, and so forth and so forth. So it's not a consistent dividend. Nonetheless, it's a pretty good one. And the stock price is rising. Yeah, something to consider perhaps. Let's look at another one. This one here, NLY. Dividend yield of 1.84. All right. Little zone break here, bit of a retracement. And if you look at the dividends being paid out, 0.65. Actually, this one is going down. Look at the amounts. It used to be 1.88. Sorry, 0.88. Now it's going down to 0.65. Okay. Maybe this one here. What's this? WEHS. A nice bounce setup here. And here, it's also all over the place. Yeah. In any case, you can find ways to find interesting stocks by examining all these different situations and the evolution of dividends over time. And one future feature, which we are going to introduce to the dashboard very soon, is another filter which analyzes the dividend history over time. So allowing you to filter for stocks which have consistently increasing their dividend payout over time. Let's say for the last 10 years or last 20 years or last 30 years. That's going to come very soon as well, especially geared towards dividend investors. All right. So with this, I'm going to open up the floor to questions because we went through all the material which I had planned for this session. And Niklas, do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions, actually, surprisingly. Stephanie just says, this webinar really helped, and thank you, Daniel.
Oh,
And
great.
Aubrey says, a suggestion to have a full screen button for the left-hand side. So a full screen for the scanner.
Yeah, that could be good. Right now you can only do the this dragging, but it would be nice to simply have a button to do it to make it quicker. I agree. Good point, Audrey. We're gonna add this one to our wish list for sure. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, if there are no more questions, just two more things from my end. First off, this webinar was recorded and you will receive the recording shortly afterwards, in perhaps 2 hours from now, as soon as it's rendered. And secondly, please join us on Saturday at our next live scanning session, where we'll be using the dashboard to find the most interesting setups for the week ahead. And for those of you who had symbol requests, please defer them to Saturday, where we're going to go through these symbol requests more, more consistently, so to say. All right, guys. With this, I hope you found this bootcamp useful. I know it was a bit longer than usual, but since there are so many features in Liquidity View, I really want to take my time to go through every single one of them. All right, man. All right, guys. With this, Niklas, thank you so much for looking at the questions of our users, and to everyone who stayed on until the very end. Congratulations, you made it through, and hopefully see you guys on Saturday. And don't forget also about our Discord room to check out what's going on right now in the live markets. And with that, guys, happy trading. Have a great end of the week and see you all on Saturday. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.